Hi, boys and girls. If you've just finished the Homograph video, then you know that I've told you to come and watch this video about the Homograph story. This is a story that I have liked since I was a little kid. It's about a woman who doesn't understand different word meanings in a list, and it leads to some confusion and some problems. Today, the story I'm going to read to you is Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parrish, and we're going to find out how not understanding the words can lead to some big problems. Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work, and I can't be here. But I made a list for you. You do just what the list says, said Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers got into the car with Mr. Rogers. They drove away. What nice folks. I'm going to like working here, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. These must be rich folks. But I must get to work. Here I stand, just looking, and me with a whole list of things to do. I think I'll make a surprise for them. I'll make a lemon meringue pie. I do make good pies. So Amelia Bedelia went into the kitchen. She put a little bit of this and a pinch of that into a bowl. She mixed and she rolled. Soon her pie was ready to go in the oven. There, said Amelia Bedelia, that's done. Now, let's see what the list says, Amelia Bedelia read. Change the towels in the green bathroom. Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. These towels are very nice. Why change them? She thought. Then Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers had said. She must just do what the list told her. Well, all right, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. Do you think that's what Mrs. Rogers meant when she asked Amelia Bedelia to change those towels? No, I don't think she meant to change the way the towels look. I think she meant to take out the dirty towels and put in some clean ones. There, said Amelia Bedelia. She looked at her list again. Dust the furniture. Did you ever hear tell of such a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture, but to each his own way. Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom. She saw a big box with the word dusting powder on it. Well, look at that! A special powder to dust with, exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. That should be dusty enough. My, how nice it smells. Do you think Mrs. Rogers meant for Amelia Bedelia to put dusting powder? It's like baby powder. All over the furniture? I don't think so either. I think she meant to dust, to clean up, to make the furniture clean again, to take the dust away. Draw the drapes when the sun comes in, read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up. The sun was coming in. Amelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes? That's what it says. I'm not much at a hand at drawing, but I'll try. So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. Do you think Mrs. Rogers meant for Amelia Bedelia to draw a picture of the drapes of the curtains? No. When somebody says to draw the drapes, they mean to close the curtains. Silly Amelia. Amelia Bedelia marked off about the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish the living room. Amelia Bedelia thought about this a minute. Then she switched off the lights. Then she carefully unscrewed each bulb. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. So those things need to be aired out too, just like pillows and babies. Oh, I do have a lot to learn. Do you think that's what Mrs. Rogers meant when she told Amelia Bedelia to put the lights out? Do you think she meant to hang them up on the laundry line? No, I don't think so either. I think she meant to turn the lights off when she was done in the living room. Let's see what happens next. My pie! Exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. She hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. She looked at the list. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups. She filled them with rice, and Amelia Bedelia measured that rice. You're measuring the rice there. Let's read. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks do want me to do funny things. She poured the rice back into the container. Is that how we measure rice, boys and girls? No, we don't want to know how tall it is. We want to know how much it is. She needs to measure out 2 cups of rice to cook, not tell us how big it is. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak in the icebox, and please dress the chicken. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag. She looked at the steak for a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Amelia Bedelia got some lace and some bits of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed that fat before she put the steak in the icebox. Now I must dress the chicken. I wonder if she wants it to be a he chicken or a she chicken, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. When someone says trim or dress meat for dinner, they don't mean to put clothes on it. They mean to get it ready to be cooked. Silly Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. The folks are back, she said. She rushed out to meet them. Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside? Asked Mr. Rogers. The list just said to put the lights out, said Amelia Bedelia. It didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get aired too long. Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes, said Mrs. Rogers. I did. See, said Amelia Bedelia, and she held up her picture. Do you think Mr. and Mrs. Rogers are very happy with Amelia Bedelia right now? No, I don't think so either. She didn't do quite what they asked, even though those were the words, the homographs, that were in Mrs. Rogers' list. Let's read and find out what happens. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. "The furniture!" she cried. "Did I dust it well enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "That's such nice dusting powder." "Oh, no." Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. "I say," he called, "these are very unusual towels." Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. "Oh, my best towels," she said. "Didn't I change them enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. Oh my goodness. Amelia Bedelia should have better understood what Mrs. Rogers was trying to say. Maybe Mrs. Rogers could have used different words in her list. Or maybe Amelia Bedelia could have used her context clues, the words around it, to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, try a different word that you know. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. "I'll cook dinner. Where is the rice I asked you to measure?" "I put it back in the container, but I remember it measured 4.5 inches, said Amelia Bedelia. "Was the meat delivered?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes," said Amelia Bedelia. "I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look nice." Mrs. Rogers rushed to the icebox. She opened it. "Lace? Ribbons? Oh, dear," said Mrs. Rogers. She is definitely not very happy that Amelia Bedelia didn't understand the homographs in her list. "The chicken! You dressed the chicken?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes, I found the nicest box to put him in," said Amelia Bedelia. "Box!" exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box. She lifted the lid. There lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as could be. Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia she was fired. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. What is he feeding her? It looks delicious. Looks like Amelia Bedelia's pie, doesn't it? I wonder if she got that right. Let's read and find out. It was so good, Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. "Lemon meringue pie!" she exclaimed. "I made it to surprise you," said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay, and so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say, "Undust the furniture, unlight the lights, close the drapes," and things like that. Mr. Rogers didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all of his steaks with lace. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pie. The end. Well, boys and girls, that was a very silly story to show us what can happen if you don't understand what the word is trying to mean. So remember, if you come across a word that sounds the same or looks the same, but it doesn't make sense, it's probably a homograph, and you might need to choose a different word for the sentence to make sense. Have a great day, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed this story.